we are the Group 3 and we're going to discuss to you today 2 lessons. First is the Lesson 6, the Performance Management. Second is the Lesson 7, the Employee Development. At the end of our lesson, we hope that you enjoyed our discussion and, of course, learned something from us. So what are you waiting for? Let's start the discussion. I am Charmaine, your first presenter for today. But before anything else, I'm going to show to you first the overview of the Chapter 6. Performance Management. Companies that seek competitive advantage through employees must be able to manage the behavior and results of all employees. Traditionally, the formal performance appraisal system was built as the primary means for managing employee performance. Performance appraisal was an administrative duty performed by managers and was primarily the responsibility of the human resource function. We believe that performance appraisal is only one part of the broader process of performance management. We define performance management as the process through which the managers ensure the employees' activities and outputs are congruent with the organization goals. Our performance management system has 3 parts. First is the defining performance, second, measuring performance, third is the feeding back performance information. First, a performance management system specify which aspect of performance are relevant to the organization primarily through job analysis. Second, it measures those aspects of performance through performance appraisal, which is only one method for managing employee performance. Third, it provides feedback to the employees through performance feedback, so they can adjust their performance to the organization's goals. Performance feedback is also fulfilled through trying to have a rewards to performance via compensation system such as through merit increase and bonuses. So here are the learning objectives for this chapter 6. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the major parts of an effective performance management process. Second, identify the 5 criteria for effective performance management systems. Third, discuss the 5 approaches of performance management, the specific technique used in each approach, and the way these approaches compare with the criteria for effective performance management system. Effective approach to performance management for a given situation. Fifth, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the different sources of performance information. Sixth, choose the most effective source or sources for performance information for any situation. Lastly, conduct an effective performance feedback session. So now, we're going to discuss the topic 1, the practice of performance management. Several recent surveys of human resource professionals suggest that most companies' performance management practices require annual paper-driven reviews that include both behavior and business goals. While many companies use performance management to manage employee performance and make pay decisions, less than 25% of the companies use performance management to help manage talent through identifying training needs and developing leadership talent. 66% of the companies use the same performance management system across all levels of the organization. According to Lynn Sawalha from atmanco.com blog, there are 11 performance management best practices everyone should know. The first one is, remember that performance review is not a performance management. Performance reviews or employee evaluation are only a part of an effective management system. Don't forget that. Second, identify the purpose of managing performance. Why is an effective performance management system important to you? Are you doing it for compensation purposes, administrative reasons, to uncover developmental opportunities, or is it simply to measure overall performance? Maybe it's a combination of any of those. But the point is, always know what you want in the first step so that you can go there. Third one, clarify the work to be done. Seems easy enough, no? But you'd be surprised at how many organizations still don't have a clear written out job descriptions and requirements. I'm not saying every single job in this world need to have a formal job description, but it surely doesn't hurt. And if you can manage that, then just make sure that the work is clearly defined. The fourth one, set goals and establish a performance plan. Tell your employees what is expected of them, what they need to achieve, and what they can do to go there. No matter how great an employee is, nobody will be able to reach their full potential if they don't have the right tools. Fifth, conduct regular and frequent coaching. It's important that we all know that by now. Need I say more? No na. 6. Conduct a formal review of performance. Formal performance reviews may not be the only part of a good performance management system, but they are still integral. And when I say formal, I don't mean that you should sit your employees down and scare the bananas out of them in an interrogation room. Formal reviews have to be about development, not evaluation. Sure, evaluation is part of the process, but improvement and development are still the main objective. Be sure, clearly convey the message. Also, you're going to need to sort out of all the things associated with a performance review, like having a performance evaluation grid, determining when you're going to do it, how often, and who is going to be involved in the process. The answer to the questions all depend on your needs, the job in question, and the general workings of your company. So be sure to keep them all in mind. 7. Train your reviewers. Arguably, one of the most important best practices of performance management. So for the sake of emphasis, train your reviewers. There are so many pitfalls that performance reviewers can succumb to. And it's your responsibility to minimize the damage. Don't believe me? Check out this common mistake you can do and you can avoid to do and during evaluation, and consider yourself as warned. 8. Pinpoint the sources of ineffective performance. So if you've done your performance reviews and a few of your employees aren't quite pulling their weight, now who do we blame? The employee, of course, right? Wrong. There are many sources of ineffective performance. It could be a personal problems, external factors, job concerns, or even issues with organizational policies and practices. We can all agree that pointing finger isn't the best solution. So be sure to identify the sources of ineffective performance and find solutions to reduce or eliminate their negative effects. 9. Recognize and reward performance. Do you know what's worse than conducting performance management and not do anything about the results? Conducting performance management and only focusing on the bad. Recognizing and rewarding performance has so many benefits, and if that isn't convincing enough, then you should know that not recognizing and rewarding performance is actually harmful. Don't skip this one. And if you need a few pointers, check out the tips that can create the best employee recognition programs. Number 10. Create action plans to develop performance. The essence of the performance management system, action, and developmental plans are not only good for the employees, but for the company as a whole. Gather all the information that has accumulated throughout the performance management process and have a conversation with your employees. See what they don't like, what they want to learn, and what they feel they need to improve upon. After all, what's left is creating action plans to develop performance and benefit both the employee and the organization. Lastly, comply with the law, mainly because it's important, but the better reason, because you have to. Those weren't created with the sole purpose of making your life difficult. They were created to protect people. So be sure to review local labor laws relating to performance management before you set anything up. So, start implementing these performance management best practices now. So, next.
I am Joby Ann Leabres, and now
we're going to discuss the topic number 2, which is the process of performance management. It is said that many employees and managers dislike the annual performance review, but effective performance management is a process, not just an event. Let's study the steps provided by the model of effective performance management process. First step, define performance outcomes for company divisions and departments. Performance management process must start by identifying and understanding the outcomes or results that will benefit the customers, the employees, peers or team, and the organization. After identifying the outcomes, we will go to the second step. Develop employee goals, behavior, and actions. It is about understanding how to achieve the goals. In order to do so, there must be measurable goals, behavior, and activities that will help the employee. Third step, providing support and ongoing performance discussions. The organization will provide employees training, necessary tools and resources, and a discussion of accomplishments, issues, and challenges influencing the performance. Fourth step, evaluate performance. The manager and employee will discuss and compare the performance goals and the supporting behaviors with the actual results. This is when annual and biannual formal performance review happens. After evaluation, we'll go to the final steps. Fifth step, provide consequences for performance results. Here, the employees will receive consequences for succeeding or failing to achieve the performance outcomes. Then, the sixth step, identify improvements needed. Of course, it is necessary to determine the changes needed. After this, as you can see in the figure, it's like a cycle. After the final steps, new goals should be determined.
Now, let's watch this video that I made to give you examples. Let me give you 5 real-world examples of performance management given by valamis.com. It's one thing to understand the theory of what performance management is, but it is another thing to use it in a real company. Let's take a look at some real-world examples of the performance management process in action. First, Google. It's no surprise that Google would show up on a list of companies that use a newer, innovative system of management. This company has always been a trendsetter, and their performance management process is one that relies on data and analysis, as well as making sure that their managers are well trained. When assessing their performance management system, Google launched a project dedicated to assessing their managers, which has led to a thorough training and future development process that sets manager, and thus employees, up for success. They also use a system of setting goals that have caught on across multiple industries. Using their objectives and key results or OKR system, they reframe the goal-setting process with their great results. Next, Facebook. Another tech trendsetter, Facebook has a performance management process that puts a heavy emphasis on peer-to-peer feedback. In a semi-annual reviews, they are able to use that feedback to see how well teams are performing and understand where collaboration is happening and where it is not. They also have developed an internal software to provide continuous, real-time feedback. This helps employees solve issues before they become problems. Next is Cargill. Cargill is a Minnesota-based food producer and distributor with over 150,000 employees and serves to demonstrate that even huge companies can ditch unwieldy performance appraisals and institute a new system. In following the latest research on the dissatisfaction of management with updated performance management process, Cargill created their Everyday Performance Management System. The system is designed to be continuous, centered around a positive employee-manager relationship, with daily activity and feedback being incorporated into conversations that solve problems rather than relax past actions. The Everyday Performance Management System had overwhelmingly positive results, with 69% of employees stating that they received feedback that was useful for their professional development, and 70% reporting that they felt valued as a result of continuous performance discussions with their manager. Next, Adobe. Adobe calculated that managers were spending about 80,000 hours a year on performance reviews, only to have employees report that they left those reviews demoralized and turnover was increasing as a result. Seeing a system that only produced negatives, Adobe's leadership team made a bold leap into a performance management system that began by training managers how to perform more frequent check-ins and offer actionable guidance. Then the company gave managers the leeway they needed to effectively lead. Management was given much more freedom in how they structured their check-ins and employee review sessions, as well as more discretion in salaries and promotions. Employees are often contracted for pulse surveys, a way for the leadership team to make sure that individual managers are leading their team well. One of the many positive results of this has been given a 30% cut in voluntary turnover due to a frequent check-in program. Lastly, Accenture. Accenture is a massive company with over 330,000 people, so changing their systems means a huge effort. When they switched to their new system, they got rid of about 90% of the previous process. Now, they are using a more fluid performance management process where employees receive ongoing, timely feedback from the management. This has been paired with a renewed focus on immediate employee development and an internal app for communicating feedback. There are common threads in all of these examples. Each company has built a system that works for them, rather than following a one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one company might not work for another. It depends on the industry, the speed, and flexibility of the company, and the overall goal of the system itself.
Now let's discuss the third topic, which is the purposes of performance management. There are three purposes of performance management systems. These are strategic, administrative, and developmental. First, strategic purpose. Performance management systems should link employee activities with the organization's goals. Strategies are implemented by defining the results, behaviors, and employee characteristics needed. It is critical for companies to execute their talent management systems, and it will help the company's financial success. Next, administrative purpose. Performance management information or performance appraisals are used in many administrative decisions, like salary administration, promotion, retention, termination, layoffs, and recognition of individual performances. However, Lots of managers feel uncomfortable evaluating others, so they tend to rate everyone high or at least the same. This makes the performance appraisal information useless. Lastly, developmental purpose. Another purpose of performance management is to develop the employees. It seeks to improve them by pointing out their weaknesses. Confrontations are necessary, but it often affects the manager and employees' everyday relationship in the workplace. Now let's discuss topic number 4, which is performance measures criteria. There are 5 criteria that stand out when evaluating performance management system. These are strategic congruence, validity, reliability, accountability, and specificity. Strategic congruence. According to MBA Knowledge Base, it extracts job performance that is matching the organization's aims, strategy, and culture. This criterion emphasizes that the performance management system provides training and assistance to the employees for them to contribute to the organization's achievements. The next criterion is validity. Often referred as content validity, it is where a performance measure assesses all relevant aspects of performance. For a performance measure to be valid, it must not be contaminated nor deficient. As we can see in this Venn diagram, when the actual job performance and the measure of job performance overlap, it is considered valid. Next is reliability. It refers to the consistency of a performance measure. One important type of this is the inter-rater reliability, which is the consistency among the individuals who evaluate the employee's performance. Some measures are called internal consistency reliability and test-to-test reliability. The first one means being internally consistent, while the latter means being reliable over time. Next is acceptability. It simply refers to whether the people who use performance measures accept it or not. Many performance measures are extremely valid and reliable, but some managers refuse to use it, and some employees who are being evaluated refuse to accept it. The last criterion is specificity. It is when a performance measure tells employees what is expected of them and how would they meet the expectation. A measure must specify what an employee should do so that the company will achieve its strategic goals.
For further knowledge, I made this video. Now, let's watch. Goals of Performance Measures by Lisa McCary. First, annual review. A performance evaluation or review is a way to measure progress toward predetermined professional goals and objectives. It should be conducted at least once a year and should detail the ways in which an individual has made headway toward fulfilling the responsibilities associated with his or her job description. Next, tools of the trade. Team feedback, peer reviews, and reverse evaluations measure performance by allowing colleagues and those who report directly to the supervisor to assess individual performance. This allows managers to gauge a staffer's performance through the eyes of others. It also offers the opportunity to assess intangibles such as teamwork, attitude, and in the case of supervisors, management style and effectiveness. Next, outside voices. Getting feedback in the form of survey responses, focus groups, and questionnaires offers a way to measure the performance of your staffers in the customer service arena. Items to measure include product knowledge, friendliness, prompt attention, follow-up, problem-solving ability, and professionalism. Next, yardsticks and milestones. Measuring key objectives involves comparing performance with vital elements of a job description. For example, a delivery worker's goals would include on-time delivery, low breakage, positive customer interaction, and clean driving record. A receptionist might be graded on including telephone and people skills, taking and delivering messages, promptly transferring calls, and limiting hold times. Next, productive people. Measuring performance and productivity levels gives a manager an idea of how well staffers are doing their jobs. Productivity levels should be measured specific to the industry. An organization operating an assembly line may have a quota range for each workstation, while a call center representative might be evaluated on the volume of phone calls he makes or receives in a given time period. And lastly, earnings contributions. Measuring performance based on earnings can be an effective technique in various sales capacities. This might include goals of average daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual sales. Revenue generation can be linked to actual dollars brought in or number of leads generated. And that's it for my report. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something.
Hey everyone, I am Arishena Mancheta and I am here to tackle the approach to measuring performances and choosing a source for performance information. In this section, we discuss various approaches to measure performance: the comparative approach, the attribute approach, the behavioral approach, the results approach, and the quality approach. And also, measuring and managing employee performance is important because it gives you the ability to properly gauge worker efficiency, identify who is working hard and who isn't, determine how to properly compensate your workforce, and improve your workplace overall productivity. Now let's know the first approach, which is the comparative approach. The comparative approach to performance measurement requires the rater to compare an individual's performance with that of others. This approach usually uses some overall assessment of an individual's performance or worth and seeks to develop some ranking of the individuals within a work group. At least three techniques fall under the comparative approach: ranking, force distribution, and paired comparison. The comparative approach involves ranking an employee's performance with respect to that of others in the group. There are two types of ranking: the simple ranking, which means it requires managers to rank employees within their departments from higher performer to poorest performer, or best to worst. And second is the alternation ranking, which means it consists of a manager looking at a list of employees, deciding who the best employee is, and crossing that person's name off the list. From the remaining names, the manager decides who the worst employee is and crosses that name off the list, and so forth. Force distribution technique involves ranking employee in groups. This technique requires the manager to put certain percentages of employees into predetermined categories. Most commonly, employees are grouped into 3, 4, or 5 categories, usually of an equal size, indicating the best workers, the worst workers, and one or more categories in between. For example, a group of top performers constituting 10%, a group of average performers constituting 40%, another group of good performers constituting 40%. Finally, a group of low performers constituting the remaining 10%. The system ranks employees on the basis of categorization rules rather than on their performance. In such cases, employees with higher ranking would get better pay than those with lower rankings, though they may not deserve it. In paired comparison technique, the organization compares one performer with the other and assigns a score of 1 for the higher performer. The final performance score is the summation of all the winning points. A comparative approach is undertaken in the case of firms with a small group of employees with similar job profiles. This is also an effective tool in differentiating employee performance. It virtually eliminates problems of leniency, central tendency, and strictness. This is especially valuable if the results of the measures are to be used in making administrative decisions such as pay raises and promotions. Therefore, this disadvantage is that it is unsuitable in the case of firms with a large number of employees or a firm with different job profiles. Second is the attribute approach. The attribute approach to performance management focuses on the extent of which individuals have certain attributes, characteristics, or traits believed desirable for the company's success. The techniques that use this approach define a set of traits, such as initiative, leadership, and competitiveness, and evaluate individuals on them. In addition, in this system, the employees are rated on basis of a specific set of parameters such as problem-solving skills, teamwork, communication, judgment, creativity, and innovation. There are two forms in this approach: the graphic rating scale and mixed standard scales. Graphic rating scale simply entails rating the employee on a scale of 5 or lowest to highest. A mixed rating scale is a more layered form of measurement. In the first step, the employee is rated as high, medium, or low on a given set of parameters such as Each parameter is then broken down and scaled as above, equal, or below. Attribute-based performance methods are the most popular methods in organizations. They are quite easy to develop and are generalizable across a variety of jobs, strategies, and organizations. But the major disadvantage with this approach of performance measurement is that of subjectivity. In other words, it may be heavily reliant on the nature of the evaluator. Another limitation of this method is that it is accurate at identifying only the best and the worst performers. However, the advantage of this method is its simplicity, because of which most organizations go with it. Third is the behavioral approach. The behavioral approach to performance management attempts to define the behaviors an employee must exhibit to be effective in the job. The various techniques define those behaviors and then require managers to assess the extent to which employees exhibit them. Also, this approach is the oldest performance measurement techniques. The behavioral approach consists of a series of vertical scales for different dimensions of the job. This can be done by the BOSS techniques. The behaviorally anchored rating scales or bars technique consists of 5 to 10 vertical scales. These scales are based on parameters called anchors, which are decided consensually from all employees. Employees are then ranked on each of the anchors according to their performance. On the other hand, behavioral observation scale or BOSS is a recent version of bars. It provides a more specific description along with frequency in regard to employee behavior for effective performance. The overall score is the average of all these frequencies. Although the behavioral approach is suitable for the reliability and accuracy, the major drawback in this approach is the voluminous data that the managers have to remember. Supervisors tend to remember only those behaviors that define closely to the performance scale, which leads to a biased rating. In addition, there are recall competency models. Competencies are a set of skills, knowledge, abilities, and personal characteristics that enable employees to successfully perform their jobs. A competency model identifies and provides descriptions of competencies that are common for an entire occupation, organization, job family, or a specific job. Competency models can be used for performance management. The competency model includes leadership and managerial, functional, and foundational competencies. The behavioral approach can be very effective. It can link the company's strategy to the specific behavior necessary for implementing that strategy. It provides specific guidance and feedback for employees about the performance expected of them. Fourth is the result approach. The results approach focuses on managing the objective, measurable results of a job or work group. We examine two performance management systems that use results: the balance scorecard and the productivity measurement and evaluation system. This approach is a simple and straightforward concept wherein organizations rate employees on the basis of employee performance results. The first type of result approach is the balance scorecard technique. This technique focuses on four perspectives, namely financial, customer, internal operations, and learning and growth. The second approach is the productivity measurement and evaluation system. It is very effective in motivating employees for enhanced productivity and measuring the feedback. It consists of 4 steps. The first step is to identify the objectives which the organization wants to achieve. The second step measures how well these objectives are made, while the third step involves how effective are they in evaluating employee performance. Finally, the last step gives feedback to the employees. The main advantage of the result-based approach of performance measurement is that it converts strategy into operations with a more holistic view. Lastly, the quality approach. This approach focuses on improving customer satisfaction by reducing errors and achieving continuous service improvisation. This approach takes into consideration both person and system factors. The quality approach mainly focuses on the use of the Kaizen process in order to continuously improve business processes. The advantages of this approach includes assessment of both employee and system, problem solving through teamwork, use of multiple sources to evaluate performance, and involvement of both internal and external factors. However, practitioners of this approach believe that this approach does not correspond with the quality philosophy of an organization. Kaizen refers to practices participated in by employees from all levels of the company that focus on continuous improvement of business processes. Kaizen involves considering a continuous cycle of activities including planning, doing, checking, and acting. Statistical process control techniques are very important in the quality approach. These techniques provide employees with an objective tool to identify causes of problems and potential solutions. These techniques include process flow analysis, cause and effect diagrams, Pareto charts, control charts, histograms, and scattergrams. In summary, organizations can take five approaches to measuring performance: comparative attribute, behavioral results, and quality. So, what are the benefits in using the performance measuring approaches? Organizations can use all these approaches together effectively to evaluate employee performance. This has a positive impact on employees' motivation and they tend to perform better. They can identify their strengths and weaknesses and work on improving their skill set. Let's go to our second topic, choosing a source for performance information. Whatever approach to performance management is used, it is necessary to decide whom to use as a source of the performance measures. Each source has specific strengths and weaknesses. We discussed five primary sources, which is the managers, peers, subordinates, self, and customers. Many companies include manager and self-assessment of performance. This helps us facilitate a conversation about performance during the appraisal meeting and on a more frequent basis. Number one is the manager. Managers are the most frequently used source of performance information. It is usually safe to assume that supervisors have extensive knowledge to the job requirements and that they have had adequate opportunity to observe their employees. In other words, that they have the ability to rate their employees. Another source of performance information is the employees' co-workers. Peers are an excellent source of information in a job such as law enforcement, where the supervisor does not always observe the employee. Peers have expert knowledge of job requirements, and they often have the most opportunity to observe the employee in day-to-day activities. Also, peers are often the best positioned to praise and recognize each other's performance on a daily basis. One disadvantage of using peer ratings is the potential for friendship to bias ratings. Third is the subordinates. Subordinates are an especially valuable source of performance information when managers are evaluated. Subordinates often have the best opportunity to evaluate how well a manager treats employees. Upward feedback refers to appraisals that involve collecting subordinates' evaluations of managers' behavior or skills. Fourth is a self. Although self-ratings are not often used as a sole source of performance information, they can still be valuable. Obviously, individuals have extensive opportunities to observe their own behavior, and they usually have access to information regarding the results on the job. Self-evaluations have lessened the fear and anxiety associated with all the appraisal process. Employees feel they have a voice and the opportunity to influence the appraisal process. One problem with self-ratings, however, is a tendency toward inflated assessments. Lastly is the customers. Many companies are involving customers in their evaluation systems. Because of the unique nature of services, the product is often produced and consumed on the spot. Supervisors, peers, and subordinates often do not have the opportunity to observe employee behavior. Instead, the customer is often the only person present to observe the employee's performance and thus is the best source of performance information. In conclusion, the best source of performance information often depends on the particular job. One should choose the source or sources that provide the best opportunity to observe employee behavior and results. In fact, one recent popular trend in organizations is called 360-degree appraisal. This technique consists of having multiple raters, boss, peers, subordinates, customers, provide input in the manager's evaluation. The major advantage of the technique is that it provides a means for minimizing bias in an otherwise subjective evaluation technique.
Hi, my name is Kristen Mejia and I'm going to be discussing you the topic 7 and 8. So let's start first with topic 7, which talks about the use of technology in performance management. So as we all know, technology right now is everywhere, especially in this generation. Like it's like a part of our daily lives, and as human we have to use it properly and know our limitations as well. So in performance management, technology is influencing this in four ways. First one is many companies are moving to web-based online paperless performance management system. Why? Well, it is simply because it is way more easier, a lot more convenient and less hassle. Second one, social media tools similar to Facebook and Twitter are increasingly being used to deliver timely feedback. So we have this what we call social performance management, wherein it refers to systems similar to Facebook, LinkedIn, and other platform, which allow employees to quickly exchange information, talk to each other, provide coaching, and receive recognition as well. Third one, companies are starting to use gamification in performance management. So from the word itself, gamification, game, it means that game-based strategies are applied to performance management to make it a fun, effective, transparent, and inclusive process for employees and managers. And the last one is companies are relying on electronic tracking and monitoring systems to ensure that employees are working when and how they should be, and to block access to visiting certain websites. So, in short, it is to ensure that employees are really working in their working hours instead of visiting some unnecessary websites in their computers like monitors or PCs. Next one, we'll talk about rater errors. So what is rater error? It it Rater errors are errors in judgment that occur in a systematic manner when an individual observes and evaluates another. So some sayings that personal perceptions and biases may influence how we evaluate an individual's performance. So, what makes these errors so difficult to correct is that the observer is usually unaware that she or he is making them. So, why should we concern ourselves with these rater errors? It is because when we understand what kinds of rater errors exist and how they occur, we are able to take steps to minimize them. So there are different types of rater errors. Some of these are similar to me, contrast, leniency, strictness, central tendency, halo, and horn. So their similarities is that these are all judgment or observation which the observer itself doesn't know how to limit his or herself in evaluating someone. So we have this what we call appraisal politics, wherein it refers to evaluator purposely distorting a rating to achieve personal or company goals, which is so wrong because in a company or in a world of business, you have to be transparent about everything. You have to be honest in order to to be successful, or in simple words, to be an effective company wherein you have to be professional in everything, and honesty is the best policy. And so there are three approaches to reducing rating errors. So what are these? First one is rater error training. It attempts to make managers aware of rating errors and helps them develop strategies for minimizing those errors. So in order for you to minimize these errors, you have to know what kind of rater errors are these. So in order for you to solve something, you have to know the problem. Next one, rater accuracy training. This is also called as frame of reference training, wherein it attempts to emphasize the multidimensional nature of performance and to get raters to understand and use the same idea of high, medium, and low performance when making evaluations. So in short, it is a training wherein they teach the managers or the evaluators to evaluate something or someone the right way or correctly. Next, the last one, calibration meetings, wherein these are meetings attended by managers in which employee performance ratings are discussed and evidence supporting the ratings is provided. So this meeting is really important because it shows how the company rates itself, its employees, its transactions the right way, and they are able to manage it well. Next, so we have the let's talk about topic 8, which talks about performance feedback. In this topic, we will talk about the manager's role in an effective performance feedback process. So it is to know if, like for example, feedback on how our performance is going. Like, um, Like, do we need to improve our performance as an employer, as a worker, or what? So we will talk about this performance feedback. So, if employees are not made aware of how their performance, or they're not meeting expectations, their performance will almost certainly not improve. Like, you should be aware of how your performance will be. Like, how is it okay? Are you doing great? Like, you should be aware in everything that you do in the field of business or in your work. Because like, for example, because of this importance of performance feedback for an effective performance management systems, many companies are training managers on how to provide feedback. Like, so in this topic, we're gonna talk about how the managers can help the company to or the employers to provide positive or good feedback from people or different person. So first one, we'll talk about feedback should be given frequently, not once a year. Well, there are two reasons for this. First one is managers have responsibility to correct performance deficiency immediately and becoming aware of them. So it is to regularly check if there is something to be if there is something wrong, like is there need of improving, like the manager should regularly check everything just to manage it well. Second is a major determinant of the effectiveness of feedback sessions is a degree to which the subordinate is not surprised by the evaluation. So an easy rule to follow in this is that employees should receive such frequent performances feedback that they already know almost exactly what their formal evaluation will be. Next, create the right context for the discussion. So, eh, if a manager started a discussion, he or she should choose a neutral location for the feedback session. The manager's office may not be the best place for a constructive feedback session because the employee might associate the office with unpleasant conversation. So the manager should always choose the neutral location for the discussion first. Next one, ask the employee to rate his or her performance before the session. Well, it is because it requires employees to think about their own performances, like over the past rating period, and it also encourages them to think about their weaknesses, their strengths, and although self ratings used for administrative decisions are often inflated, there is evidence that they may actually be lower than supervisors' ratings when done for developmental purposes. Next one is fourth one. Next, encourage the employee to participate in the session. It is very important because um, it is where the tell and listen approach takes in, wherein managers tell employees how they have rated themselves, and then let the employees explain their side of the story. So in this problem solving approach, managers and employees work together to solve everything, like the performance problems, in an atmosphere of respect and encouragement. Next one, recognize effective performance through praise. Okay, the purpose of this session is to give accurate performance feedback, wherein praising effective performance provides reinforcement for that behavior. Like, it also adds credibility or it to the feedback by making it clear that the manager is not just identifying performance problems. Praising is also important. Next, focus on solving problems. It is common mistake that managers make in providing performance feedback. Try to use the session's chance to punish poorly performing employees by telling them how utterly lousy their performance is. Well, to improve poor performance, a manager must attempt must he or she must attempt to solve the problems causing it. This entails working with the employee to determine the actual cause and then agreeing on how to solve it. Next, focus feedback on behavior or results, not on the person. Okay? Because this is best accomplished when by focusing the discussion on the employee's behaviors or results, not on the employees, because it is not the person is not the focus thing on here. It's the problem that needs to be resolved. The next is a person. The problem also. So we have to talk about first the problems in order to make a solution. Next, minimize criticism. This is very important in like in a meetings or something, because having been confronted with a performance problem, an employee often agrees that a change is in order. However, if the manager continues to come up with more examples of low performance, the employee may get defensive. So always choose the right words in every situation. It is very important. Next is agree to specific goals and set a date to review progress. It is one of the most effective motivators of performance. Besides setting goals, the manager must also set a specific follow-up date to review the employee's performance toward the goal. This provides an added incentive for the employee to take the goal seriously and work toward achieving it. Like it's some type of a schedule to really follow it and be responsive as well. Next, so the next thing is these are also some thing that the managers can do to diagnose or to check performance problems and manage employees' performance. So as we emphasized in the previous discussion, employees need performance feedback to improve their current job performance. In addition to understanding how to effectively give employees performance feedback, managers need to be able to diagnose the causes of performance problems and take actions to improve and maintain employees' performance. So, I guess that's it. We're done with topic 7 and 8. That's all. Thank you so much for listening and I hope you learned something. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone! So now we are done with the lesson 6, which is the performance management. Let us now proceed to the lesson 7, the employee development. Let me first introduce myself. I am Colleen Kate Marquez, the next presenter of our group. Let me also borrow your listening ears and pay attention as I present. Let's start. Let me give you all first an overview for this whole lesson. Employees. Employees are like the building blocks of the company. With them, the paths of the company is paved. They act like the foundation that strengthens an organization. Employees are the ones who provide assistance to the superior officers that is ahead of them. So, improving their level of capabilities will be an advantage for a more competitive and a well-built organization. So in this lesson, we will talk about employee development. Molding an employee into a great one will be a great key contributor to a company and will increase the competitiveness by helping employees understand their strengths, weaknesses, interests, and competencies. Let's start first with strengths. All of us know what we are capable of. Talents, abilities, skills, the one that we can say, I have the guts and confidence to do this. Well, intertwined with strengths are the weaknesses. If we do have strengths, we also do have weaknesses. It is the one that tickles the crumpled side of us. So for developing an employee, we should not think of weaknesses as the downfall side of them. Instead, think of it as it may also become their strength someday. Then, interests. We always have that something that we are always looking forward to. What our whole self want to focus with. What we are confident enough to show what we can do and probably we can call it as competency. Under employee development is to show employees new jobs and expanded job responsibilities that are available to them to meet their personal growth needs. Also, employee development ensure employees that they are competent and they have the competencies necessary to serve customers and create new products and customer solutions. Regardless of the business strategy, development is important for retaining talented employees. Also because companies must constantly learn and change to meet customer needs and compete in new markets. The emphasis placed on both training and development has increased. This chapter begins by discussing the relationship between development, training, and careers. Choosing an approach play a huge part of development planning. Then, it is important to the company to know first what are the development needs of the employees and also the purpose of development before employees choose the development activities. The second part of this chapter will give knowledge about development planning process. Employee and company responsibilities at each step of the process are emphasized. And at the latter part will be about the development approaches on how skills, knowledge, and behaviors will be strengthened by each development method. This whole chapter concludes with a discussion regarding issues in employee development, including succession planning and using development to help women and minorities move into upper level management positions, which is referred to as the melting the glass ceiling. In easier terms, with the mentioned knowledge that this lesson will offer, employees will be able to fit in and attain the opportunities in front of them. So, for the learning outcomes, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to first, discuss the steps in development planning process. Second, explain the employees and company's responsibilities in planning development. Third, discuss current trends in using formal education for development. Fourth, relate how assessment of personality type, work behaviors, and job performance can be used for employee development. Fifth, explain how job experiences can be used for skills development. And the last one is to develop successful mentoring programs. So now that we are done enumerating all the objectives of this lesson, let us now proceed to the topic 1, entitled The Relationship Among Development, Training, and Careers. Development. Consistent growth and progress will let a company to retain and gain competitive employees that can be a huge advantage for its future. That is development. Development creates a huge impact to everything. It refers to formal education, job experiences, relationships, and assessment of personality and abilities that will help the employees prepare for the future. To improve every employee's ability to meet changes in job requirements and in client and customer demands, knowledge, skills, and behaviors are pointed out. Employees are expected to be knowledgeable and skilled about what is going on inside the company. Then, the training. Well, from the word itself, to train. It has a specific goal, which is to improve one's capability, to widen one's capacity and productivity. Talking about development, it also have the ability to prepare employees to literally go out with their boxes by stepping up to other position and to move into jobs that may not yet exist and to prepare them for the changes that might happen in terms of work technology, work designs, new customers, or new product markets. So moving on, next
is the development and careers. Living at this current time, careers are called protean careers. Protean career is based on self-direction with the goal of psychological success in one's work. In other words, protean career is best described as a career that is driven by an individual itself or the employee itself, not by the organization. So the instructional material gave an example. So take a look at this. An engineer may decide to take a leave from her position to work from a management at the United Agency for a whole entire year. With this, she is given a time to think deeply and evaluate herself more about what she really wants herself to be. The purpose of this could be to develop her managerial skills as well as help her personally evaluate if she likes managerial work more than engineering. In this way, all will be into the right place. Based on an article, she will be characterized to set realistic, challenging, and attainable career goals for herself, which will lead her to higher levels of intrinsic career success. It is really true that when you already found yourself, it is like you already reached the peak of success. Just like this type of career is the one that most employee needs, which they can use to fill their cup of development. Therefore, the convenience for them to adjust is just way easier and it's made for them to create a sense of change in a good way. Adding more fuel to the fire isn't unpleasant sometimes. So, gaining more knowledge and skills will help you understand and evaluate more yourself personally. Employees need to develop new skills rather than rely on a static knowledge base. This has resulted from companies' need to be more responsive to customers' service and product demands. It is also for them to increase their morale and acquire new skills and learnings while doing their job. I guess that's all for the first part of the lesson 7. I hope you learned something. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Edilyn and now let's proceed to the topic 2 of the lesson 7, which is the development planning systems. Development planning systems is also called career management system, or in internet it is called career management process. It is a system to retain and motivate employees by identifying and meeting their development needs. It is also a process through which employees become aware of their own interests, values, strengths and weaknesses, identify career goals, and establish action plan to achieve goals. There are 4 processes in development planning system. First is the self-assessment. It refers to the use of information by employees to determine their career interests, values, aptitudes, and behavioral tendencies. It often involves psychological tests such as the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which will be discussed later, the strong Campbell interest inventory, which helps the employees to identify their occupational and job interests, and the self-directed search, which identifies employees' preferences for working in different types of environments, such as sales, counseling, landscaping, and so on. Second is the reality check. It refers to the information employees receive about how the company evaluates their skills and knowledge and where they fit into the company's plans, such as potential promotion opportunities and lateral moves. In other reference, a reality check is a second opinion, either requested or provided voluntarily, about the status of some current situation. Reality checks are similar to fact checking but are less formal. Before ICE principle, A requirement that two people review a document is a type of reality check designed to detect such errors so they don't appear in the final version. For important matters, it may be advisable to seek expert advice. Third is the goal setting. Goal setting refers to the process of employees developing short and long-term development objectives. These goals usually relate to desired positions, level of skill application, work setting, or skill acquisition. These goals is usually discussed with the manager and written into a development plan. Development plans usually include descriptions of strengths and weaknesses, career goals, and development activities for reaching the career goal. An effective development plan focuses on development needs that are most relevant to the organization's strategic objectives. And the fourth one is the action planning. An action plan is a written strategy that employees use to determine how they will achieve their short and long-term career goals. In other sources, it is an approach rather than a specific method, which helps focus ideas and decide what steps you need to take to achieve particular goals. It is a statement of what you want to achieve over a given period of time. Preparing an action plan is a good way to help reach objectives. Action plans may involve one or combination of development approaches, such as enrolling in courses and seminars, getting additional assessment, obtaining new job experiences, and finding a mentor or coach. Now, let's proceed to the topic 3, which is the approaches to employee development. There are 4 approaches that are used to develop employees: the formal education, assessment, job experiences, and interpersonal relationships. The first approach is the formal education. Formal education programs include off-site and on-site programs designed specifically for the company's employees, short courses offered by consultants or universities, executive MBA programs, and university programs in which participants actually live at the university while taking classes. These programs may involve lectures by business experts, business games and simulations, adventure learning, and meeting with customers. Throughout the last few years, more and more companies have added continued education for their employees as part of their employee benefits. There are numerous benefits for allowing employees to further their professional skills and knowledge. A great reason to provide educational opportunities to employees as part of company's benefit package is to increase knowledge and technical skills. For example, if the company have professional and licensed employees, it would significantly increase employee talent and would expand the company's overall resources. Second is the assessment. Assessment involves collecting information and providing feedback to employees about their behavior, communication style, or skills. It is used for several reasons. Assessment is most frequently used to identify employees with managerial potential and to measure current managers' strengths and weaknesses. Assessment is also used to identify managers with the potential to move into the high-level executive positions. It can be also used with work teams to identify the strengths and weaknesses of individual team members. Assessments can help employees understand their tendencies, needs, the type of work environment they prefer, and the type of work they might prefer to do. Next is the personality test and inventories. Tests are used to determine if employees have the personality characteristics necessary to be successful in specific managerial jobs or jobs involving international assignments. Personality tests typically measure five major dimensions: extraversion, adjustment, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. The Myers-Briggs Type Inventory, which was mentioned earlier, refers to an assessment that is based on Carl Jung's personality type theory. This theory emphasizes that we have a fundamental personality type that shapes and influences how we understand the world, process information, and socialize. The assessment determines which one of 16 personality types fits the best. The 16 unique personality types are based on preferences for introversion or extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. The assessment tool identifies individuals' preferences for energy, which is the introversion versus extraversion, information gathering, which is the sensing versus intuition, decision making, which is the thinking versus feeling, and lifestyle, which is the judging versus perceiving. Each personality type has implications for work habits and interpersonal relationships. Next is the assessment center. Assessment centers are primarily used to identify if employees have the personality characteristics, administrative skills, and interpersonal skills needed for managerial jobs. They are also increasingly being used to determine if employees have the necessary skills to work in teams. Example: in a leaderless group discussion, a team of 5 to 7 employees is assigned a problem and must work together to solve it within a certain time period. The problem may involve buying and selling supplies, nominating a subordinate for an award, or assembling a product. In the interview, employees answer questions about their work and personal experiences, skills, strengths and weaknesses, and career plans. They can also role play. Role play refers to the participant taking the part or role of a manager or other employee. For example, an assessment center participant may be asked to take the role of a manager who has to give a negative performance review to a subordinate. The participant is told about the subordinate's performance and is asked to prepare for and actually hold a 45-minute meeting with the subordinate to discuss the performance problems. The role of the subordinate is played by the manager or other member of the assessment center design team or company. Personality tests may be used to determine if employees can get along with others, their tolerance for ambiguity, and traits related to success as a manager. Now, let's go to the performance appraisals and 360-degree feedback system. Performance appraisal is the process of measuring employees' performance. The appraisal system must tell employees specifically about their performance problems and how they can improve their performance. This includes providing a clear understanding of the differences between current performance and expected performance, identifying causes of the performance discrepancy, and developing action plans to improve performance. A recent trend in performance appraisals for management development is the use of upward feedback and 360-degree feedback. Upward feedback refers to appraisal that involves collecting subordinates' evaluations of managers' behavior or skills. In 360-degree feedback systems, employees' behavior or skills are evaluated not only by subordinates but by peers, customers, their bosses, or themselves. The raters complete a questionnaire asking them to rate the person on a number of different dimensions. And the last is the job experiences. Most employee development occurs through job experiences. A major assumption of using job experiences for employee development is that development is most likely to occur when employees are given stretch assignments. Stretch assignments refers to the assignments in which there is a mismatch between the employee's skills and past experiences and the skills required for success on the job. It is said that to be successful in the jobs, employee must stretch their skills and they must force to learn new skills, apply their skills and knowledge in a new way, and master new experiences. And that's all for the lesson 7. Thank you.